Hey YouTubers, welcome back to KNIME Tutorials and video 2 in my series focused on KNIME Expressions nodes. In this video, I will be covering the join function in both the column and variable expressions nodes. Let's get started. Join is a simple but powerful function that will help elevate and simplify your work through its ease of use and flexibility. If you have the follow-along workflow, just execute the table creator node to get started. If you don't have the follow-along workflow, download it from the KNIME Hub via the link in the description below. I put together a data set that mirrors what you might find when you export various kinds of usage data. You will see names and job titles in addition to some number columns that include days active, employee ID, and more. Double-click the column expressions node and take a look at the first column. I've already named it Unique ID. If you're wondering how to add a column in the column expressions node, please see the first video in this series Intro Expressions Nodes. Select the Unique ID column. The first expression is a join, allowing you to join data together. In a lot of projects, I often need to create a unique ID or join data together for something else, such as a combination city-state field. The join takes many arguments, and when you find it on the plus function dropdown, you'll see a short description of the function with a few examples. In this first example, I want to create a unique ID column that is a join of the name and emp ID columns. Double-click Join from the list and you'll see the function name followed by open and closed parentheses added to the expression editor. Next, I click inside the red parentheses. Since I want name first, I select it from the plus column dropdown. I want the unique ID to include a dash between these two columns. To insert additional characters like this dash, I simply add a comma after my name column and add the dash in quotation marks followed by another comma. Then I just do the same step again with the emp ID column. Unless you add a space with the additional characters you're joining, your new joined string will be a continuous combination of whatever you've placed in the join function. So, if you didn't add a space, there won't be one. Additionally, if I wanted to join my columns with a number, I can just add another comma and the number outside of quotation marks. We're not quite done yet. While there is not necessarily code completion in the expression editor, the syntax highlighting comes in really handy. And if you take a moment to read the errors generated, you can generally troubleshoot syntax problems yourself. If I hover over the red squiggled line in the expression, I'm told that a closing parenthesis is missing. Once I add it, the expression re-evaluates and the red line goes away. To quickly evaluate for yourself that the expression is working as expected, just click the Evaluate button. After I click Evaluate, I see a return of the first row from my data set with the expression. If the first row of your data is missing or doesn't meet the requirements of your expression, this quick peek may not yield expected results. You'll notice that in the top portion of the configuration window, the first few characters of my expression are visible in the expression column. This can come in really handy when you're troubleshooting or have a lot of expressions in one node. To demonstrate some of the power and flexibility of the column expressions node, I've also included a few examples of JavaScript-based approaches to joining string data. Note: before executing the node, remember to adjust the options in the Error Handling tab if you want the node to fail on a script error or invalid columns. Let's leave this column as unique ID and leave it as a string data type. Take a look at the output. It all looks good. The join did what we expected. Moving on in the workflow, I've used a table row to variable node to convert the name, days active, and emp ID to variables. This node just grabs the first row of my data and creates new variables based on the column names. Variables in KNIME allow you to work with data that changes or might be dynamic based on user input, API responses, and more. Understanding variables in KNIME will help you unlock some incredible functionality that will elevate your workflows. For the time being, I am just highlighting the shared functionality of these two expressions nodes. If I double-click the variable expressions node, I see a very familiar layout to that of the column expressions node, except that the plus column option is missing. Also, the type output options from the variable expressions is extremely limited compared to the column expressions node. The join function works the same way, and here you can see that I joined name, a dash in quotation marks, emp ID, and days active, and I'm outputting this new column as a string variable called joinExample. I will execute and examine the output of the node, and I can see that I now have my new string variable called joinExample formatted exactly how I wanted. That's it for the join function in the expressions nodes. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. I've included a link in the description to the KNIME.tips article that goes along with this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Happy KNIMing!